Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Sage Studio. I'm Tiffiny Webster, and today we are talking all about the upcoming testing season. And I know as soon as I said that, you probably started to feel your blood pressure rise a little bit. I think we all do. Like testing just kind of brings up a little bit of anxiety. So that is exactly why I have invited these guests to the show today, Bethany Burgos and Allie Whalen. They are here to help ease that testing anxiety that both students and parents feel during this time. So, Bethany, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bethany Burgos, and I am the assessment facilitator here at Sage Oak. I hope that today we can kind of help prepare you for what CAASPP has coming for you and what it holds and what we can do to help support your students and you as parents as well, because it takes the whole team, right? And your teachers are here for you. So any way that we can support you, please let us know. We are on your team.
And Allie Whalen, welcome back to Sage Studio. We always love having you as a guest on our show.
Thanks again for having me. My name is Allie Whalen. I am the school counselor at Sage Oak. I work with the TK through 8th grade students, BLA and PLA, and I'm here to be able to talk a little bit about that testing anxiety that you mentioned.
Okay, Bethany, let's talk about CAASPP. That is the main test that we are going to be talking about. So for those that may not be familiar with what CAASPP is, can you break that down for us?
Yeah, of course. So basically, there are two tests that make up the CAASPP. So you have the Smarter Balance test and the California Science test. So the Smarter Balance test consists of English language arts and math, and it's given to all 3rd through 8th and 11th graders. And there's going to be two parts to each of those tests. So you'll have the computer adaptive test, or otherwise known as the CAT, and the performance task, or the PT. The California Science Test, or CAST, is given to all 5th, 8th, and 11th graders, as well as any of our 12th grade students who have not completed the CAST during a previous year of their high school experience.
Now, why do we take this test? Why is this test important? Why do we take the CASP?
That's a great question. So at Sage Oak, our CAST participation is crucial for fostering academic growth and maintaining accountability. So it's impacting the California dashboard that we look at by reflecting both achievement and engagement, which enhances our school's ability to offer customized programs for our students.
Okay, so basically, it is our way of communicating like, hey, our parents and our families have been engaging in learning, and this is our opportunity to showcase to the state that our students are benefiting from being part of Sage Oak. And so when we get a chance to kind of show that to the state, it helps us continue to, stay in business as a program and continue to offer this to our families. Is that right?
Exactly. So basically, these assessments as a whole, they're going to offer a detailed picture of student progress, which is exactly what we want to see, we want to follow. It's going to shape our instructional approaches and parents' instructional approaches so that we can better address student needs. The CASP and CAST are instrumental in tracking development, pinpointing areas to strengthen, and equipping our students for future challenges like driving exams, college entrance exams, all of those certifications that we'll get nervous about at some point in our life. So why not practice now? So participation in the CASP is just really going to allow us to gain that valuable experience.
All right, with that in mind, though, let's not ignore the fact that, Allie, this does start to raise a little bit of the stress level. That's totally common. So can you help us out with that?
Yeah, of course. Oftentimes we talk about the idea of anxiety, right? And anxiety is just kind of that general term that just describes that worry or unease. And there are different kinds of anxiety depending on what perhaps we're worried about. Anxiety is that feeling you get when something stressful is going to happen. You're anticipating something stressful is going to happen. And testing anxiety is a type of performance anxiety. It's whether you might be worried about something when you think it might be essential or important. Other types of performance anxiety might be giving a presentation or trying out for a sports team or perhaps doing a musical performance. So a kid could have thoughts of like, what if I don't know what's on the test? Or what if I forget everything? What if it's too hard? And many thoughts like this, they don't leave much room in their mind to concentrate or, do their best. Also, sometimes kids worry about physical reactions, such as like throwing up or what if my hands start shaking? And while their worries, may be realistic, our body just kind of releases that hormone adrenaline and we get that rush where we feel like there's that danger, like we would get, like, if you see a bear in the forest
Mhm.
and we get that rushed, run away, of course, right? But when we take tests, sometimes we get that same physical response or still going that same fight or flight mode, even when we're not in front of a bear. We have some physical symptoms like stomach aches or maybe trouble sleeping or wanting to avoid situations or difficult concentrating or fidgeting or tantrums. So these symptoms can be, mild, but they can also be really intense too. And absolutely, we want to support kids with being able to get over that hump and reassure them, reduce that stress, make sure that they know they have value despite their score. So, kind of figure out some ways that we can help them with that testing anxiety.
Okay, so if your child is coming to you and they're feeling a little bit nervous, they're having the stomach ache, maybe they are getting those sweaty hands, how can a parent help them and kind of reduce those physical symptoms?
The first thing I really suggest with kids is really make sure they're familiar with the test and make sure that they feel they're adequately prepared. And as parents, this also includes you and making sure you're familiar with the test. You can't help your child take the test, but you absolutely can help them prepare. So make sure that they're familiar with the test format. A child can know the content, but if they don't feel familiar with the testing format, their brain might be unable to share that content.
Tell me a little bit more about what you're referring to when you're saying get familiar with the testing format.
When you're first logging into something like the CAASPP test, you're like, what do I do? How do I navigate this? And so just by showing your child sample test questions, you're really trying to prepare them for the types of questions they're asking, what they might be required to do with their cursor, how to utilize the tools such as dictionary, calculator. Sometimes those are available, sometimes they're not. So making sure that they know what they can do on that testing format, not have that anxiety just by looking at the screen.
You mentioned that in addition to learning the operating system and how the actual tech works in order to answer the questions, that there would also be different styles of questions. What types of questions can parents and students expect to see on the CAASPP?
As far as what the questions look like, they are all different. So you're going to find some essay response questions. It might ask you to choose a specific vocabulary word. So reading the directions is also going to be super important so that you know what the question's asking. In addition to that, sometimes the questions will say, choose 2 sentences. And if you haven't read the directions and you pick just one, even if one of those answers was correct, it's going to mark it wrong because the directions told you to choose 2 and you only selected 1. So there's so many things to think about when taking the test. And as Allie was saying, it's super important just to become familiar with the format. If we've practiced and practiced and practiced, it makes where on test day, I can open up my computer as a student and I feel like, I've seen this before. I am prepared. I know how to navigate. I know what tools are available to me. I know how to answer all of these questions, even though they may look different than something that I'm used to, but I can answer them because I'm equipped and I'm prepared.
Okay, I think that is going to really bring a lot of relief to a lot of families who just want to know what it is that they would need to help their kids prepare. So if parents wanted to give them a chance to see the operating system, give them a chance to, try out some of these questions, practice making sure that they're reading the questions thoroughly so that they know how to answer it, where is the best place for them to do that?
It's great to practice with your teacher. Coming up here in the next couple of learning periods, you're going to find that your teacher is walking through the test with you. You're practicing logging into the interface pretty soon so that all of those steps can be practiced and your teacher's right there beside you working through all of that. You're not alone so that when you are a little bit more alone on test day, you can do it and you're prepared. And there's Oak School test prep classes that are being offered here pretty soon. So that's super exciting. If you just want to get more practice and become familiar, that's a great opportunity. We're also offering test taking workshops. And in fact, our very own Allie here with us is coming up in March. She's going to offer a donut stress test. That's coming up.
Fun, Bethany. I got to make it fun.
Of course. Why not? The test is fun. We can make it fun. So be on the lookout for information on that. And really these supports, these strategies, everything is just there to help students. Taking the test is a life skill. We have to be able to do hard things in life and be able to overcome our fears. And so the more that we can practice and prepare for that, it's really, really going to help us.
Allie, while we're on the topic, tell us a little bit about the workshop that you're offering. Is it a one-time workshop? Is it a class? How does your donut stress the test workshop work?
Yeah. So the idea of, anxiety obviously is something that we all experience, and to expect it. It's something that we all are going to experience in different parts of our life. And so being able to talk to kids about anxiety, be able to take the taboo out of it, make sure that they know it's going to come up, it's going to creep up, it's going to be part of the test, it's going to be part of other parts of their life too. And so when we have anxiety, what do we do about it? And make sure that they know and feel equipped to, move on, right? To answer your question, it's going to be 4 weeks long. So it is Thursdays in March at 12:45. So we'll be meeting for about half an hour, just kind of giving some pointers, some tips, tricks, and being able to just have that time together to, again, understand, build that community. No, kids are not alone. We all have anxiety and we all can work through it together.
You said something there that I think is really important for our parents and for our students as well. And that is that this is not about being so prepared that you don't experience anxiety. It's about knowing that it's going to come up. So these are some tools to help you deal with that and to face that. And I think that's so important because, I think as a parent, sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we don't want our kids to feel anxiety about a test. And so we feel like we have to do all the things to make sure that that does not come up. And if they somehow still feel anxious, we failed them in some way, right? And so as parents, I think it's really important to also take the pressure off yourself a little and say, hey, I know that regardless of what I am going to do, a little bit of test anxiety is natural. And so I can do some of the things like you were mentioning, Bethany, if that's going to help them, or have my student go through some of those practice tests with their teacher, if that's going to help them. But ultimately, it's not upon you as a parent to absolutely remove the anxiety from the situation. We just want to help our kids, address it and get through it a little bit and let them know kind of what to do. So thanks, Allie, for making that point.
And I would even say, really address that elephant in the room, and naming the issue could even bring some relief where they think, oh, okay, my mom, my dad, they know I feel anxious and that's okay. So we want them know that, they're loved and they're valued no matter what the score is. That this is not about, just one aptitude test that's measuring their worth as a student or their worth as a child. We can tell them, yeah, tests like this used to make me nervous when I was a kid, or I feel sometimes nervous when I have performance tasks such as X, Y, and Z. So we want to kind of come in with a little bit of a calmer demeanor and make sure we encourage them to do their best, remind them that the test won't make or break them. Again, tell them they're loved, they're valued no matter what. We think that they know that, and of course, I'm sure they do, but reminding them over and over again is something that's really important. Teaching calming techniques such as deep breathing, for example, counting to 10, stretching, massaging their hands, visualizing their favorite place, being able to kind of have that mental vacation, people say, and having those mental images for them that they can take that mental break. So those might be a few things. I do want to mention, Tiffany, whatever it might be that you are helping your kid with, they need to be taught in advance. So when students are upset or worried or stressed, their brains can't process and learn new information. So whatever skills and calming strategies and tools you're teaching them, they have to be introduced, discussed, and practiced before the test. And they kind of go into that test where okay, when the anxiety creeps up, I know I've tried these 3 things. I know what they look like and how to practice them. Other one I wanted to mention is just self-talk. And this is one I utilize for myself. Anxious kids, adults, we sometimes tend to have those negative thoughts where we're like, what if I'm going to fail this test? What if I do poorly? And so we really want to teach kids to challenge these ideas by looking at the evidence against our negative thoughts. Do you fail every test? Do you have a crystal ball? How can you, know ahead of time that you're going to fail the test, right? So really trying to challenge some of those thoughts that they have in their brain and turn them into more neutral or even positive thoughts.
I really like that idea because it allows them to go through that process of acknowledging the fear of like,
Uh-huh.
okay, so I'm afraid that if I don't do well on this, it's going to mean I'm a terrible student. And then to challenge that by saying, like, is that really true? Is that what this is really going to mean? And then, like you were saying, they can kind of backpedal a little bit, or they can talk themselves down a little bit to be like, no, even though that's what I'm fearing, it doesn't actually mean that that thought is true. So I love that. I think that strategy of the positive self-talk and kind of challenging those doubts and those fears is really good. The just taking a moment to like breathe, take a couple deep breaths or count down from 10. I think that's a really good strategy. And the visualization that you mentioned of just take a minute to like visualize your happy place, a place that brings you like calm and peace to get yourself centered is really good. And the reason why I really like those ideas is because it doesn't require any tools of families. It doesn't require them to have any stuff in order to like help their student. They can just practice those three things. And that is something that students can take with them into their life. We're equipping them with strategies that aren't just about this CAASPP test. This is about how do we deal with any of these fears or anxieties that come up with this testing scenario or any others down the road. So I think that's a very powerful way to equip both parents and students during this time. And I really do like the way you also mentioned, like, day of the test, not the time to start these new strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we set our kids up and our parents up with great testing strategies prior to the test. Bethany, talk to us a little bit about like testing environment. What does that look like in our independent study model at Sage Oak?
There's three things we really want to focus on, and it's rest, good nutrition, and then the preparation that we've been talking about a lot during this podcast here together. But it's really going to be important that on test day, we have a study area, a quiet space that's free from distraction. We want to make sure that we're not tired. If I'm tired, I have a harder time functioning during the day in a regular setting, let alone trying to take a test. So it's super, super important that we get enough rest. And I know it's hard when I've stayed up late, night after night. I can't just go to sleep magically on one night. My eyes just won't shut and my body won't settle on one night. So it's kind of like something that we need to practice along the way and start slowly getting back to bed a little bit earlier before test day so that our body is ready, rested, and prepared. One of the most important things is nutrition. It's so, so important, especially the night before and the morning of testing. Protein rich. We want to eat eggs. We want to eat oatmeal. We want to eat things with protein in them. We don't want that sugary cereal that's going to make us feel really, really good right away. And then as soon as I have all my things gathered and I'm ready to take the test, now I've crashed because that sugar didn't stay with me. So if I were a student taking a test, I would make myself a checklist. So I know I need my Sage Oak issued Chromebook. I need it to be charged. I can't tell you how many times we've had students, I forgot to charge my computer and now I can't take the test. Well, that's something we should have really planned and prepared for the night before. So having that ready to go. We need scratch paper, we need pencils, we need snacks, we need water so that we're not getting up and leaving the testing station that we're at during that time.
Those are really good tips for sure. And earlier we had mentioned that there's a testing schedule. Is there certain days, times that students need to be prepared and parents need to be prepared to take specific tests? Tell us a little bit about how that scheduling works and where they can find out that information if they need it.
Teachers should have already shared the testing week with families at the beginning of the school year. As soon as we start to get a little bit closer, we will share the actual testing time within that window so that families can prepare and know what to do. There's going to be two blocks. There's an earlier morning block and then like a mid to end of the morning block. It's really important that we are there and present and prepared.
Okay. And then as far as specific tests, will parents be able to know, like, okay, tomorrow's test is your language arts reading comprehension test, or tomorrow is your math performance task?
It's not best practice for students to sit from 8 to 5 and get all tests done in one day. They're going to get tired, they're going to get bored, and we're really not going to see the best performance. So we have students take one math test or one language arts test, whichever is assigned for that day, and the whole school follows the same order. So on a Monday, all students will be taking the math CAT. Then on Tuesday, they'll all take the math PT. On Wednesday, they'll all take the English language arts CAT. Thursday is the English Language Arts PT. The only extra test is that CAST, the California Science Test. So that one is a little bit longer. So we do chunk that one and break it up over the days. And then our 5th day is great because it's really an extra day for us to finish up anything that we didn't finish on the prior 4 days.
I love that you have broken it down over several days. So again, this is not like an 8-hour testing session for an entire week because we don't want to have testing anxiety and test burnout. So that's good to know. It's just a little bit of a chunk every day for a few days, and also that you've built in a little time. So should you have, your Chromebook non-functioning for a day, or you get thrown off a little bit, that you've made a little bit of room in the schedule to absorb those kind of things as needed. So I think that should help with testing anxiety as well. Well, you both have been such a wealth of information on this. We will go ahead and include links to some of the information that you heard on today's podcast. So if you would like to find out more about the CAASPP, first and foremost, talk with your child's teacher. That is the best form of communication. So make sure that you are in touch with your child's teacher so that you can get access to some of these CAASPP trainings. And again, any of the skills that your particular student might need to really practice ahead of time so that they are ready for that test. The Oak School class that Bethany mentioned, I think that sounds like a great opportunity. So if you wanted to know more about the Oak School class, you can visit the website at sageoak.education. That's www.sageoak.education. And we'll also link the flyer to Allie's class so that if you want to make sure that your kids are not stressing with the test and they want to be part of that 4-week series in March, that you have the information to get them enrolled in Allie's class as well.
And definitely want to tell parents too, don't forget to celebrate once it's over. Oftentimes kids need that extrinsic motivation of being able to have that reward. So think about perhaps their love language and what is it that they need? Do they want, a family fun day to the park or a movie or eating ice cream? This can be a big deal for them. So don't forget to celebrate.
I think that is the perfect way to remind parents about how to finish up with testing season. So thanks for bringing that up. All right. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Allie. Really appreciate you stopping by the podcast, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bethany.